And to religious minorities, you are not safe here. You do not belong here. Our leaders and all of civil society need to be loud and clear as they reject that message. We must stand in solidarity with those targeted by the forces of bigotry that grows in Charlottesville. We need to be on the side of equity, inclusion, and justice, not racism and terror. We must work to build a nation where this hatred has no place. Like every institution, the scientific community has the responsibility to reject the legacy of racial oppression that still haunts us today and get to work for justice. We at the Union of Concerned Scientists are immensely saddened and condemn in the strongest possible terms these deplorable, shameful, and racist events in Charlottesville, Virginia this weekend.
I see that Mayor Rosas has just arrived. Mayor, are you warmed up? Would you share a few words with us, please? Thank you to the town of Dunkirk for allowing us to have this peaceful demonstration.
Thank you. It's good to see all of you here today. I think one of the first things I just want everyone to know is here in the city of Dunkirk, we have a very diverse population. Our community is very unique, and it actually resembles New York State as a whole. We have plenty of minorities in our community, and the word racism is not an easy word to use, but it comes to mind here tonight. And as mayor, I think it's important for me to stand up and let everyone know, in light of the actions that took place in Charlottesville this past weekend, I think that it's important that I, as a leader in our community, let all of you know that racism is not something that I will tolerate. I don't think that anyone in our community here in the city of Dunkirk needs to tolerate that. And I also know that our elected officials that are here today, like our county executive, our New York State Assemblyman, stand with me on this. That's why they're here. So I want all of you to know in our community that if and when these issues come up here, you need to trust the system, trust our administration, and bring it to our attention, and we will handle it. With that being said, I'm very proud to be a part of this event here this evening. Discussion took place at tonight's council meeting, and my opinion on that is that the people that are here looking for peace. We're looking for a way that we can all live together and respect each other and understand and respect each other's differences. So that's what tonight means to me, and I appreciate all of you coming out in support of this message, and the message is very clear. Our diversity is our strength. That's what makes us strong. We're here together as one community. Thank you.
I would like to now introduce Reverend Frank Terrain and his wife Loretta Staten Terrain, leaders in our community.
Thank you very much. At first when I was asked to do this, I felt a little bit apprehensive because I was going to be talking to a large group of people that I'm not used to talking before. So, can you hear me now? Okay, we are on a Verizon commercial. I thought about what I was going to say tonight, and I wanted to come with my clergy hat on and to speak as a pastor in this community. And it brought to mind two stories. One story is the story about Jonah and how Jonah was told by God to go to Nineveh to preach the word, and how Jonah refused and decided to go the opposite way because he felt that those people in Nineveh do not deserve you, God. Not because they are sinners, but because they're Ninevites. They're different. They're not like us. But God had a different plan. And he said, I want you to go anyway. And no matter what Jonah did, God had a different plan, and he insisted that Jonah would go, and Jonah eventually went. If you read the story, you know how that ended up. And then there's another story about the Good Samaritan, a parable that Jesus told about a Samaritan man who passed by somebody who was injured, near death. And he was a Hebrew. And this Samaritan who passed by this Hebrew after two others passed him by, decided that I have the means, I have the will, I have the know-how, and I'm going to help him. And this story was stirred up by the question, who is my neighbor? Who is my neighbor? And Jesus told the story. We have to ask ourselves that question, who is my neighbor? And the answer to that question should be, do I have the means? Do I have the will? Do I have the know-how? And is it in my heart to help someone even if they are not like me? They may not be the same gender as me. They might not have the same skin color as me. They may not have the same hair texture as me. I don't have any hair. So. But no matter what, who is my neighbor? And if we follow the example of the Samaritan, we will use the will that we have, the know-how, the love in our hearts, and overlook everything else to reach out and help someone. And not worry about who's supreme. Because a supreme person is the person who reaches deep in their heart and reaches out with a helping hand.
I would like to now introduce the well-loved and highly respected in our community, Rev Early Waller.
Good afternoon. Good evening. We are grateful to our God to be here at this appointed time and from this appointed place. You know, after standing and listening to our pastor, Pastor Terrain, who's a great leader in this community. And then following him, I was just trying to think what I'm going to say. But you know, as I think back on when I was called and asked to come and to take part, just prior to the receiving the invitation, I was thinking to myself, what was our community going to do in regards to what had taken place down in Carolina? And just so happened, the phone call came in. And I thought on my way that the Lord always has a plan. He always have a will. We've been told where there's a will, there's always a way. But as we gather here this evening and we look back on the situation, it brings to mind what the scripture teaches us. John 3:16 said, "For God so loved the world that he gave us his begotten Son." And I thought to it, what a great thing it would be if we had love one for another. Where we have love at that, the type of activity that we are now experiencing in our many areas of the country. If we had love, that type of hate that we see would not be continuing to grow. And I want to say today that as we are gathered here, that each one of us has the ability to look deep down in the soul of each one of us. And we all have to ask ourselves, what can I do to make things a little bit better? My wife and I, several years ago, we became foster parents. Later, we ended up adopting 3 of the children that we foster parents for. They happen to be of the Caucasian race. When we go out among the restaurants, as we just came from, and many places where we go, the youngest child is Bella. She loved to say, "Dad." And sometimes just the expression on our face speaks for us. Many times when we are out among the community and here to see this little girl, "Dad," she called it, and we won't, those that are the company that they won't say anything, but they're wondering because their facial expression says it all. They don't have to, their lips don't have to move because the facial expression, it says it all. But when we have love, it's love what speaks for us. Jesus says, "May the works that I've done speak for me." I want to say to us all, grateful to be here. Grateful to have the love in our hearts to look on a situation like what's taking place down in Carolina and open our own hearts and say grateful. And I want to say to those that have lend a helping hand in putting this together, thank you. Thank you. This shows that we love one another. This shows that we are concerned one for the other. This shows that we all are our brother's keeper. Let us continue to work together, for the scriptures teaches us together we stand. Together we want to stand. If we stand together in unity, there is what? Strength. In unity, there are strength. This says that there is strength because we have the making and already a made up community. Because I see some Hispanics, I see African Americans, I see some of all nationalities, and that's a good indication that we together, people, there's no end. If we can go forward, Dunkirk can be proud. Our community, Chautauqua County, can be proud. Our state can be proud. God bless you so much. We love you. Stay on the battlefield.
Thank you, Reverend Waller. Awesome. I'd like to now, I know we have several government officials here and representatives. And we're delighted that you have come. Some of you were unexpected, which makes us even more delighted. So this is the big experiment tonight. I am going to ask you to all come forward and to come up on the dais. You may not debate each other. Not sure you should even talk to each other. But you each please take a couple of minutes to share your thoughts with us. And if it's all right with you, I will have you introduce yourselves. Okay, come forward, please.
These are
Competition's tough.
Thank you very much to the Chautauqua County Women's Action Group for inviting me. I'm Andrew Goodell, and I serve you in the New York State Assembly. About 70 years ago, my father and my uncles went to war and risked their lives fighting a country that believed that they ought to advance an Aryan nation, and that their race was superior to everyone else's. And during the course of that conflict, millions of people lost their lives. And our country stood up straight and tall and said, we do not support that type of concept. And we don't support it today. As you know, I appreciate the comments that were made earlier by our pastors. And as you know, God gave Moses 10 commandments. Then the Pharisees, who were the politicians of the day, they went to work, and pretty soon there were thousands of rules, right? And by the way, I continue that tradition. But when Jesus came, he condensed all those rules into just 2. Remember that? Love God with all your heart, soul, and mind. And the second, love your neighbor as yourself. And that statement didn't say as another white person, or as another black person, or another woman. It said, love your neighbor as yourself. Now, all of us have trouble keeping track of the thousands of laws that we're busy passing, but all of us can keep track of those 2 commandments. And if we do, we realize, as God has told us, we are all children of God. And what right do we have to criticize any other child of God? Thank all of you. I want to thank all of you for coming. Let's spread the message. We're about inclusion, we're about teamwork, we're about positive change, and we're not going back. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman. My name is Vince Horgan. I'm the county executive. I was excited to talk to the mayor the other day. We were in a meeting and talking about this rally, and he invited me to be here, and I'm very thankful for that, Mayor. you know, as we sit here tonight, and stand here tonight, you can feel the closeness. You can feel Dunkirk, and you can feel the Lord, as our pastors have told us. But as someone that is charged with making our county, every aspect of our county, better in every way for these young people, for you, I am so thankful that in our community, we find ways to come together. We have difference of opinion, but we know how to talk to each other. We know how to respect each other. I served 28 years in the United States Air Force, along with a lot of veterans that I see out here. And probably the two most important things that I remember, I had the opportunity to visit the chambers in Dachau, in Auschwitz. And I saw firsthand what hate can do. Incredible, indelible mark on my mind. And the events of last weekend were disturbing, they were disgusting, and they made me angry of how we could, some groups could go back to that hate. The good news is it's a very small group of people, because love will conquer all. And so as we are here tonight, I want to thank those that organized this. I want to thank you as citizens who know how to come together, how to build community, how to lead, how to teach, how to work hard, because guess what? We want to leave this place a little bit better for these young people. And they're watching us, and we need to be the ones to be examples of how to talk, of how to act, of how to disagree, but how to do it in a way where love prevails. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Don Williams, First Ward Councilman, City of Dunkirk. I'd like to thank the Chautauqua County Women's Action Group and Natalie and Marcia for putting this together. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and supporting peace. And I agree with what everybody said that's been up here already, and I just want to add that I'm sure that I can speak for the City of Dunkirk and say that we will not tolerate racism, bigotry, or hatred. We need to be together as one, united as one, forever. We also had put information out to invite the statewide officials, as they're here and representatives are here. I have a note from the governor's office, one of his representatives, Lori Cornell. She had sent, and she said, Don, I regret that I was unable to make it to tonight's rally in Dunkirk. Please extend my sincere appreciation and applause on behalf of Governor Cuomo to all those in attendance. You, Mayor Rosas, and the organizing committee deserve great recognition for your efforts to shed light on this important cause. So again, that was from the governor's office. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Kevin Muldowney. I'm here representing State Senator Kathy Young. I guess I didn't get the memo, guys. Unfortunately, she had to be at the other end of her district. Her district is quite large, but she wanted to make sure that everybody knew that she was behind your cause, and hopefully she'll be at the next rally. And we'd just like to echo everything that's been said tonight. Thank you very much.
My name is Dave Wolf. I'm from District 11, county legislature. I just wanted here tonight to represent the legislature to let them know, and let you folks know that we are 100% behind this rally tonight. Never ever will racism and bigotry be okay in Chautauqua County. We're not going to have it. Your elected officials are here to support you, and we're going to make Dunkirk and the city of Jamestown a better place to live. I'll be brief. Thank you. Anyone next?
Yes, I'm John Coosdale. I am the part-time city court judge here in Dunkirk. Pardon my appearance, but I was on a bicycle and it's beautiful evening. Like the county executive, I too have visited Auschwitz, and trust me, it was a very sublime experience. You really see what happens when hate takes over. That being said, preventing hate is really a grassroots effort. One of the reasons Nazi Germany was able to be created was not just because of Hitler, but because the common people, and in particular the local level judges, allowed it to happen. And trust me, that's never going to happen, not in the city of Dunkirk, and hope never in the county of Chautauqua, not in the state of New York. With the kind of support that we're seeing here tonight, I think we're all on the same page. We're all in this together. We're all subject to the Constitution, and we're all going to live by that. That's what makes us Americans, and that's why hate is never going to prevail in our country. So, thank you for coming.
Good evening, I'm Diane Ferguson, and I'm going to read a statement from my husband, Michael Ferguson, who was running for county executive. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." And I believe that to be true today. It is up to our leaders, both public and private, religious and political, Democratic, Republican, and independent, to stand up and lead and say no more, enough. Love is the only force which can turn an enemy into a friend. Hatred and violence against our fellow man will not and should not be tolerated. We are a wonderful community made up of great people who lift one another up. Let's continue to stand side by side, hand in hand, and tell the world, not here, not now, not ever, live as one. Thank you for your time and your invitation. I apologize for not being available for such an important event, but I assure you that I'm there in spirit, and I will not tolerate negative behavior towards anyone. God bless Chautauqua County, God bless America, and God bless all of you. Sincerely, Mike Ferguson.
Thank you, Diane. I would like to now introduce Ziya Ira Newt. I hope that was close. He may have to say his name again. I'm going to let him introduce himself to you.
Good evening. I came just to attend like yourself. I was not expecting to give a speech, but I was asked to give. I am, some of you know me, I'm the chapter president of the United University Professions at the college. I represent the professors and professionals at the college. I'm a foreigner. I was born outside the United States. I am a US citizen, and I believe I'm a world citizen because this world exists for all of us, and it's small. There is no point to discriminate human beings because we are all humans. If we work together, if we love each other, we will achieve and do things together. I was born and raised as a Muslim tradition, but I believe there is one belief: humanity and love for all. Thank you.
I would like to recognize the president of Fredonia, Ginny Horvath.
Before I speak, I wanted to let these two, who seem to have something to say, come forward. Is there something you'd like to say?
Well, my name is Toby, and I think that we are all equal, and that those people that are being a little mean should not be allowed to come to Fredonia or Dunkirk.
I'm glad to be here tonight with all of you as we affirm the kind of community we want to be, the kind of America we think is important, built on everything people said about our beliefs and about our history. I'm happy to say that Fredonia will be welcoming its second largest incoming class this week. And what that has meant is recruitment. And one of the things we tell the incoming class is what a great place this is to study on campus and to live. And we brag about you in Dunkirk and Fredonia and what kind of place this is. This is a very high achieving class, very high academic achievement, one of our highest ever in terms of their accomplishments academically. We're really proud of that. But I'm also proud of the fact that the incoming class is our largest, our most diverse class ever. 31.6% of this class are underrepresented minorities. Now, I think that is a great boon to our campus as we think about bringing people from downstate New York, bringing people from many different racial and ethnic groups to come and study at our campus. What they ask us is, what will it be like for me in Fredonia? What will it be like for me if I go to Dunkirk? So I'm asking all of you tonight to do what you can to be as welcoming as possible. And if we're committed together in being tolerant, it means extending that hand of welcome that several of the speakers mentioned. One of our new faculty asked me a question today that troubles my heart. She is of Asian background, and she just moved to our community. And she said, when I go out, everyone stares at me. Am I safe here? That question haunts me, and I wanted to reassure her, yes, you are safe here. You are safe here, but I'm counting on all of you to help me with that, to make people who look different from you, who may speak with an accent, who may be used to New York City, so they might act in different ways from us at this end of the state in terms of their interactions, how loud they are, that sort of thing. Please extend a welcome to these students and to our new faculty, our international students that will be arriving soon. That's what all of our commitment means, the ways we interact with one another, the way we make each other feel safe and not feel nervous that because someone is different, whether that person is of a different race or of a different gender identity, whether that person has a different language, we have to make the case that we can be friends, that we can be welcoming to each other, and that no one should live in fear in our community. I'm counting on your help as we bring this diverse class of students here and welcome faculty from all over the world, that they will find a home here. I found a home here. I did not grow up in this county. I grew up in Erie County. I've lived here for 13 years now and think of this as my home. I'm so proud when we have visitors come to tell them what a friendly place this is and how kind people are to each other. I agree with the speakers that have spoken before me that we are joined together in our commitment to remain that way, not to be afraid of each other, not to be afraid of reaching out to each other, even those that we don't understand or that seem different from ourselves. And even and especially when we get into disagreements, when we have different viewpoints on things, that we talk those things through in civil, respectful ways, and we come to an understanding with one another. We don't have to agree on anything except one thing, that we're worth listening to each other, and that we can work together and make the world better. Thank you so much for being here and allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Ziya. We have only a few more speakers. Oh, we have someone who would like to say something. One of our change agents.
My name is Simon, and I think everybody should be nice to each other.
Thank you, Simon. I would like to now introduce Rich Morrisroe, the Dunkirk City Attorney.
Good evening. Buenas noches. Assalamu alaikum. If I could do it in Polish, I would. Not yet. I'm learning. So this past weekend, I was in Alabama with my father, who is a veteran, not of wars, but of the Civil Rights Movement. Richard Francis Mooresville used to be Father Richard Francis Mooresville in the Archdiocese of Chicago. And in 1965, he got the call when Martin Luther King came up to Chicago and asked all the clergy across the different denominations and across the different religions to come down for the voting rights marches that were being held in Selma, Alabama. And he nearly lost his life. And a young Episcopalian seminarian who was with him at that time did lose his life. Jonathan Merrick Daniels. You can Google all these names. You can see the history yourself. So I won't bore you with the details. We were down there for the 52nd annual commemoration of Jonathan Daniels' death in Lowndes County, Alabama, which is a small county between Selma and Montgomery. So I grew up with a little different perspective. Son of Irish immigrants on the one hand, my dad, and my mother, a native of the island of Puerto Rico, Vegalta. And I grew up in a neighborhood that was Mexican and mostly African American in East Chicago, Indiana. Another stop on the Rust Belt, another steel town, like Dunkirk, like Buffalo. So it's kind of hard for me to imagine what it's like for the folks that are marching on the other side, the folks that are marching in whatever title they're marching under, whether it's Nazi or alt-right or white supremacist. It's hard for me to understand their perspective because I didn't grow up in that kind of world where everybody looked the same. But I want to understand, because I think only in understanding will we understand where that hate comes from. And only if we engage with the other side will we come together as a country. Now it's hard, obviously. We have terrorists domestically. We have people who are so far gone in their hate that they're willing to take the life of another on their belief that their race is superior to others. It's very hard. It's hard. My father has buckshot in his back and walks with a limp for the last 50 plus years and nearly lost his life because of that hatred. Because he was an outsider. And they disliked outside white people who were trying to help black folks down south more than they disliked black folks from down south. And when I first went to that commemoration 20 years ago with my dad and my sister, it was celebratory. It was like, wow, look how far we've come. One of the guys that was in jail with him is now the county, was the county sheriff 20 years ago. Look how far we've come. And when I went down there this weekend, we were having a peace circle or a forum about what's going on currently, and that's when I found out about Charlottesville. And I thought, oh my God, how far have we come? These people lost their lives in the 1960s, and I call them veterans. Veterans of a different type of war, but they were veterans. People like my father almost lost his life, and yet we're not there yet. We've come a long way. We've come a long way, and I agree with the speakers before that we have come a long way. This crowd is a symbol of that. The crowd down there was mostly Episcopalians who were our hosts in Alabama, and we're Catholic. And they were welcoming, and they were all shapes and sizes, all colors. And they came from all over the Southeast. Some came from New York. It was pretty cool. We've got a long way to go. And the only way we're going to get there, folks, is if we learn how to respect differences. And I'm going to disagree with the little guy who was here said everybody's all equal. We're not all equal. That's not the point of diversity. The point is we're all different. And that's okay. And we're brothers and sisters. Now we respect each other. And we engage in those differences. That's what makes America such a wonderful place. And you can have pierogi and you can have a pastelillo in the same dish. You can enjoy spaghetti and rice and beans in the same dish. And you can learn how to dance salsa and the polka at the same place. But that's if we embrace that diversity. If we realize, hey, we're not all the same, and that's okay. Fear and ignorance are the enemy, not those people. We got to find a way to connect with them and let them know that, hey, I get it. You feel like the world's changing too fast and America's getting too brown and black and America's getting too diverse and women are getting too much power. It's scary. But they come from communities that are different from this community right here. It's hard for them to understand. Hey, it's okay. But we can't have that conversation if we're yelling at each other, or if we're throwing rocks at each other, or if we're trying to run each other over. So for all of us who believe in unity and believe in diversity and want us to stand together, we have to be willing to engage those that would hate us. And that's one of the hardest things to do. But if we do it, we can make real change in this country. God bless you and have a great night.
On deck, we have Linda Dunn, who is the president, not the moment, hang on deck, not up to bat. We have Linda Dunn, president of Temple Bethel, who I will introduce again in a moment. We also have on deck a representative from the League of Women Voters. That's to give you an idea of a little bit more of the program. But first, before those speakers, I would like to introduce David Swift, who is representing the Veterans of America.
Thanks, Tina. I'm not representing the veterans here. I am a veteran. I'm also a member of Veterans for Peace. One of my colleagues has got the shirt on. My shirt says, be a Gandhi quote, be the change you want to see in the world. And I'm very honored to be with you here tonight. I'd like to recognize Mother Earth and the environment that makes this all possible. And I'd also like to recognize the people who were here before most of us were here, the Haudenosaunee, the Native Seneca people. And the issues of what happened in Charlottesville are really about free speech, about protest that a historical figure was being somehow dishonored. And there were counter-protesters, but we really should use the principles of nonviolence and respectful speech, as other people have said. And I'm hoping and praying that the country will learn from this. There's a poem here I'd like to read, a prayer, I guess you'd say. Ojibwe people, I don't know their traditional name, I should. You can look it up. Ojibwe is the common spelling, I guess, and now I think it's O-J-I-B-W-E. But I think the prayer speaks to this issue of the earth and of respect for one another. I'd like to share it with you. Grandfather, look at our brokenness. We know that in all creation, only the human family has strayed from the sacred way. We know that we are the ones who are divided, and we are the ones who must come back together to walk in the sacred way. Grandfather, Sacred One, teach us love, compassion, and honor, that we may heal the earth and heal each other.
And now, Linda Dunn, who is the president of Temple Bethel.
My grandparents came to this country at the turn of the last century. They were escaping anti-Semitism and pogroms in Eastern Europe and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Those of you who know me know that I have worked in Holocaust remembrance and commemoration for over 25 years in this community. The relatives who did come over, to my grandfather's side of the family, they perished in Auschwitz. So it's very, very personal to me, as well as important for us as a community and as a civilization to remember. And when I see the neo-Nazis in Charlottesville, it's very, very disturbing. I would like to read The news of what happened in Charlottesville is all over the newspapers in Israel. And Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial in Israel, issued this statement. The Yad Vashem Holocaust Museum on Monday condemned this weekend's neo-Nazi rally in Virginia, saying that the ideology on display there was identical to that which led to the murder of 6 million Jews. In our post-Holocaust global society, there is no room for racism or anti-Semitism, the organization said. The anti-Jewish ideology of the Nazis was a precursor to the eventual murderous policy and extermination of the 6 million Jews. These images are yet another reminder that we must remain vigilant about educating the public regarding hatred and xenophobia. There are a number of things I was going to say, and some of them have really already been said. I was struck by, I don't remember his name, the speaker, 2 speakers ago, who talked about having conversations with the other, with the white nationalists, the Ku Klux Klan, and neo-Nazis. Not that we necessarily are going to change them, to find out where they're coming from. And I am reminded of a quote by George Santayana, who was a Spanish philosopher and poet, who said, "Those who don't remember the past are condemned to repeat it." For the neo-Nazis, Robert E. Lee stands for something. I know there have been people suggesting that the Auschwitz monuments, should come down. We have to also, maybe there's a better place for Robert E. Lee in a museum or in a military cemetery, but we also should take into account how, as heinous as the things that they say and do, where they're coming from. So I appreciate the other speaker actually talking about that. The violence that occurred in Charlottesville, I keep thinking about a poster that was very popular during the Vietnam War, which said, "What if they gave a war and no one came?" How many of you remember that? Okay. We had 2 sides ready to go after each other. We have to find other ways to communicate and to try to understand instead of being so ready to attack. Reverend Martin Luther King, in his dream speech, said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character." We live in an age where identity politics is dividing all of us. We need to find the things that we have in common, the need for good health care, the need for better education, all of the things that we want for our children and for our grandchildren should bring us together rather than the things that divide us. Judaism has a philosophy called Tikkun Olam, which requires us to repair the shattered world, to repair the broken world. We're living in a very, very broken world, and we repair it with acts of kindness and compassion. So we have that responsibility, all of us. I guess I will just end with the words of a Hebrew prayer for healing, and I would apply it to the body of America and the soul of America. Refuah HaNefesh, or Refuah HaGuf, healing of body and healing of soul. And that's what I wish for all of us.
I would just like to recognize that another community member was able to arrive after his other meetings, and Mike Ferguson is here, and we're just grateful that he's at our Thank you. Thank you, Mike. We heard from his wife, Diane, earlier. Okay. I would like to now recognize Mary Croxton, President of the League of Women Voters.
Civil rights, human rights, social justice, equality, truth, respect. There are many of us that still instill these concepts into our daily living. There is hope. The League of Women Voters would like to leave you with one thought. Be engaged, be informed, vote, it counts. Thank you.
I'd like to now bring up Michael Zimaletto. Take your time, that's all right. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Mike Zimaletto. Grew up about 4 blocks down the road. Little Polish-Italian kid. And growing up, I thought, hey, if you're Christian, you're Catholic, because that's what you are. When I was in middle school, got a story that's real quick, just about putting yourself into someone else's shoes. I was in choir, and we had what we were told was the Holocaust Memorial. Now, I'm 12 years old. What do I know of the Holocaust? Nazis bad, you know, America good. That's what we were taught. But beyond that, I didn't know. We had a gathering at, I believe, Lutheran church or Episcopalian church. And all of us were in the choir in the back half of the church. And there were a lot of people in the front half and some over on the side. And there were a couple, it was non-denominational, so there were a couple of different priests that were speaking. And the Episcopalian priest got up and he said some words, and then he led us all in an Our Father. The Catholic priest joined in, so most of us in the choir, being all mostly Polish and all mostly Catholic, we all said the Our Father, and then we had a speaker about who had been in the Holocaust, and he was against, he was going around the country and he was talking about what had happened. And he started mentioning the different places that these concentration camps were. And he started naming some places in Poland. And I thought all of the concentration camps were in Germany. They were the Germans that did it. So I'm Polish, and I'm thinking, my God, did my relatives know? Did my relatives go there? Did they speak up? I felt as though, for that moment, I felt that I somehow was a little bit Jewish. Maybe some of my relatives were, but there was a moment that I realized that we were all human, and that if it could happen to them, if it could happen to you, and you could happen to me. And the speaker who was up there started, at the end, he actually asked a rabbi to come up to the front, and the rabbi started a traditional prayer in Hebrew. And of course, none of us were saying it. And all of a sudden I heard a voice. and he joined the rabbi. And then I heard another voice. And before I knew it, everyone in that church was saying that Hebrew prayer. And I realized that everyone in that church, besides the ones that were in the choir, everyone was Jewish. And I never knew, and I didn't notice, and I didn't see it. And I didn't look for the differences. And that's what we have to do. We have to be courageous enough to not look for the differences and to look for the similarities. Because when we hear someone else's culture, we can think, oh my gosh, I can join them, and I can feel what they're feeling at that moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to now bring up Alex Holbrook, and she's going to share a reading with us. I lost my place in my notes. After which we will have a poem read by Marcia Johnson and Judy Lutz Woods. After which we will have a moment or two of silence in recognizing that we are all for one and one for all.
This is a statement from the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, President of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Our faith calls us to resist violent extremism. We must liberate ourselves from the paradigms of dominance and hierarchy that are destroying lives, communities, and the planet. The faith and the courage of our ancestors in movements of resistance and liberation show us this truth. Thank you.
We have our poem. Are you ready?
Before I read the poem, I just wanted to say a few thoughts that I have. I brought to this my father's World War II medals, including the Purple Heart. And he and many of our fathers and grandfathers fought against fascism. And to think that this fascism is coming to our country is unacceptable. And this is how we have to look at it. We need to resist fascism just like they did in Europe.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say a couple words. Some of you who know me know Friday, my nephew and niece arrived here from Charlottesville. They had just left. Both of them work at the University of Virginia. Both of them would have been involved in that if they were not here with me on the beach instead. So we spent a joyous time with my family, but every few minutes that they were checking their phones, they have friends that were beat up. My nephew told me last month he was face to face with one of the Nazis that came there last month. I will echo what Marcia said. My father and 3 of his brothers were in the military on World War II. My dad had to explain to me he was in the Air Force, which became the Air Force. They fought Nazis. And to think that his grandson, my father's grandson, had to face Nazis in his own town. It's unacceptable. This is not American. We are all one. We know who the enemies are. The enemies are anyone who tries to divide us with hate and fear and blame. We are one country, one nation.
First They Came by Pastor Martin Niemöller. First they came for the communists.
And I did not speak out.
Because
I was not a communist.
Then they came for the socialists.
And I did not speak out because I was not a socialist.
Then they came for the trade unionists.
and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist.
Then they came for the Jews.
And I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left. We need to speak out and reject this hate and this fear. It's not what our country is about. It's not who we as a people are about.
And I just want to say I've never been prouder of our community than I am today. We went to a vigil in Buffalo, and I think we have as many people here as we had in Buffalo. This is a wonderful outpouring of love and unity and respect. Thank you so much for coming. All right, we're going to conclude in this way. First of all, thank you so much for coming. We should thank ourselves for coming. And also, we at CC Way are looking for leadership from all cultures in this community. So we have a Facebook page, Chautauqua County Women's Action Group, and if you are interested in joining us, please let us know. I would like us to all, as I guide you, to take 4 deep breaths together, and I will count them out. 4 deep breaths together, followed by 2 minutes of silence, during which I will suggest that we think about, contemplate, reflect on what makes human beings all the same. Reflect on those things that we all, no matter what we look like, smell like, sound like, where we come from, we all share some commonality, and please reflect on those things. So, all together, first let your breath out, and a nice deep breath in, and out, and in, and out, and in, and out, and in, and out. Thank you again for being part of my community. We have candles here. Albert is here to play some music for us, and if you wish, before you leave, to come up and light a candle, please do. And please talk to each other before you go.
Was I in the way? Are you sure? You could have told me to move over.